We're planning a full renovation on our spare room, and I wanted a way to hide these horrible wall sockets. So I built this ash framed mirror which covers the sockets without having to remove and fill them. This was a really fun build, and the final result really gives this room some warmth and depth. Let's get straight into the build. I picked up this rough sawn ash slab from a local supplier, but it needed a fair bit of prep to get it ready for use. I cut it to length slightly oversized using the track saw. I then ripped the two live edges which will be used as the top and the bottom of the mirror. There was a little bit of bark left on them which I removed with a chisel. Next up, I needed to mill these parts to get them flat. The original slab was fairly cupped, but I knew that cutting thin strips off of it would reduce the severity, and I also had a huge amount of thickness to play with. Once one face was flat, I thicknessed them until both pieces were uniform. I gave each board a good sanding through the grits, and then I had a new product to try out. Because ash is an open grain wood, similar to oak, I wanted to try out some grain filler. I have a keepsake box project planned, and I want to use oak for that, but the oak that I've got is very open grained. So I got this filler to try out, and it seemed to do a really good job, so I'll definitely be using this on the keepsake box. Once that was dry enough, I started to work on the back of each section where I'm routing out a channel for the mirror to sit in. I've seen similar mirrors where they route the channel all the way to the edge of the board, but I didn't want the stepped wood to show from the sides. So instead, I left around 5mm so the slab would sit a tiny bit wider than the glass. I left the pieces long to do this as I thought the thin edge would chip out during this process. So, once the channels were cut, I trimmed the pieces to final length on the miter saw. I then sanded down the filler with the orbital sander, cleaned it, and then gave it a good hand sanding to finish. For the finish, I'm using some Osmo Oil. This is actually Osmo Door Oil that the Decorating Centre online sent me out for another project, but I wanted to try it out on something small before oiling multiple doors using it. I brushed it on, let it soak in for a while, and then buffed it off. I then left it overnight to cure. In the meantime, I started work on the rear frame and mounting. Because this mirror needs to cover those pesky sockets, I needed to step it out from the wall, so I ripped some 18mm MDF strips to do this. When the finish was dry, I laid the wood flat on the table and I used some stick saw to glue the mirror to the ash. This is flexible, so any movement in the wood shouldn't be an issue. I could then go around and add the MDF strips. The top one is a French cleat, which will be used to attach it to the wall. The bottom one a spacer to keep the bottom flat against the wall. And then the sides will do a couple of jobs. Firstly, they're going to block the side view behind the mirror. Without these pieces, you would be able to see through the back and see the sockets. When I renovate the whole room, these strips will be painted the same colour as the walls. Secondly, they're going to act as straps, which will transfer some of the weight off of the adhesive holding the mirror on. Part of the reason to keep the sockets behind the mirror was to power some light in. I added a warm white LED diffuse strip around the perimeter, and to make sure that this could be powered properly, I had to buy one of these slimline USB plugs to just about fit into the gap between the wall socket and the mirror. All that was left was to attach the other side of the cleat and to hang it. The LED strip lights up the wall around the mirror, giving it a nice glow, The effect should be even greater once the wall has been painted in the new colour. So that's the mirror all done, and step one of quite a major room renovation project that we're going to be undertaking in the new year. So make sure you stick around for that. If you want to see another bedroom project, check out this one where I made some spalted beech and ash bedside tables. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.